All right. And we have done it. We are live. Fantastic.
Finally.
I'm so happy you're here. We made it happen.
Yes.
A couple of technology glitches, but we worked through it. So give us a couple of bullet points, kind of high level points of where you're at.
Okay, so I am the first of my kind in this business. Now, there's people like me. I'm a psychedelic integration coach.
Okay. Let's dig into what that means.
Okay, so someone who can help facilitate the integration of the things that you learn in your psychedelic journey or your psycho-spiritual journey. There's people of all realms, people that deal with Jesus, or people that deal with this or that, or just, paganism or whatever it is. And we help you put this into your daily life, as just a cyclical thing that you do every day that makes your life better. We can help people go from, setting and intention. So mindset, setting where you're at, intention, what are we looking to accomplish? So we also facilitate. But, and we always have to say this, we don't recommend anyone taking drugs. Okay. Drugs. But medicine, if you do these medicines properly, correctly, with all that right setting, intention, energy, everything behind it, you're looking to gain stuff. Science has shown, psychology has shown that this stuff works. This is the vehicle to enlightenment and of yourself. If you want to talk to God, I have a phone you can use. However you want to look at it. And my obsession with all of this came with obviously my own personal healing. After I retired, I was a train wreck. 20-year addiction to painkillers and just drugs, just a overall dopamine response, but painkillers were the main thing, and I guess drugs and women, and violence. But
let's pause there for a quick second. Yeah. Ian, for people who don't know your background in fighting, give them where you've been at in terms of your fighting career to set that stage on why your experience level holds so much more gravity.
Yes. Okay.
In what you do.
I've been doing martial arts since I was 4. I'm 36 in next week, 2 weeks, whenever the 7th of May is. I became obsessed with martial arts at that age, and through the obsession, my obsessive compulsive nature of me, I had one goal. Well, I had 3 things I wanted to do in life. I wanted to be a scientist, and sorry, I missed out on that one, but I have a scientific study going with the UFC and fighters, and my girlfriend's a scientist and professor at UCLA. So
careful what you wish for, man. You get there.
With one. Yeah. I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. I just checked that off my box as a hobby. I'm a hobby comic is what they say. I don't have time to put enough energy into it as I would like. So I do it for fun, and it's therapeutic for me with my ego and all the shit I need to deal with in my life, in my head. But fighting was it. I wanted to be the best fighter in the world, and I did it, and I did it. The one time that I did it in my life was the one time that I was sober. I got out of rehab for the second time, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I was over fighting. I'm like, whatever, I'll figure something out. Or mid-20s, like an idiot. And my coach goes, hey, you need money, right? I was like, yeah. He goes, all right, well, go fight this guy. I was like, how much? And it was enough money. And I was like, sure, I know that guy. He's my friend. I know I can kick the shit out of him. And it's not like, it's just what it was. So I went out, and I was in really good shape. And again, I was sober. Sure, I was a mess mentally. Granted, I was sober, but I was abusing my workouts and sex. Like, I've always had a really gnarly sex addiction. And for some reason, don't know what it is, women seem to want to have sex with me, sometimes in groups. I don't get it. I don't know, whatever. That's besides the point. But that was like it was really gross. just how deep I was going. Cause I have some sort of celebrity status. I've always made money. I come from a nice area. I'm fit. I'm not too bad to look at, I guess. It just made sense. I can spit game, whatever. That's just all regardless. Besides
all comes together.
Yeah. And I was such a mess mentally. Like, I mean, it was really crazy. And then I was fresh out of rehab and I was sober for really the first time since I was 14. So I'm going through all this stuff, and I just was like, okay, cool. I became the best in the world. Well, I had one fight, okay, and I won that fight. And then after that fight, I went to go get this tattoo on my chest, and I hate getting tattooed. It hurts really bad.
Says the guy with tattoos everywhere.
I've been sober for a year and a half. I can take something for a little bit for to numb the pain. And I woke up in the hospital. I died. I aspirated. I was in the hospital. People say, "Oh, I overdosed," and I was, and they gave me a Narcan shot and sent me home. I'm like, motherfucker, I was in the hospital for a week. They told me I died. They told my brother I wasn't going to make it. It was really bad, and I just sat there for a few days. I'm just miserable, just so sad, just mad at myself. And then my agent and my coach called and said, "Hey, we got an opportunity for you. The best guy in the world at the weight class that I belong in, 125, they want you to fight the number one guy in the world, and just they want to make a name off you." And I was like, and I'm sitting in a hospital bed after I just did this. And they're like, "Anyways, where have you been?" And I was like, well, and I told them because they're my family basically. And they were just like, "Well, do you want us to come see you?" I was like, "No, dude, no one needs to see this. Everyone's fuck off." Like, I said, "Okay, cool. Like, sign the bout for me and I'll be there." And it was like 2 months later, I went and I became the best number one guy in the world. but I'm really, 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 really good at fighting, at fist fighting, at martial arts, at being a psychopath. And once, of course, I have the childhood trauma. We're all broken children. I study under Dr. Gabor Mate. My girlfriend takes this compassionate, program. And being an addict, that's the way I like to look at the addicts, because I deal with a lot of them in this space, and people just trying to deal with anything. And my trauma, because everyone's trauma doesn't matter what you go through, it affects you the same chemistry wise. My mom left me, when I was 12. My parents got divorced, and I hate feeling like I was that weak where I let that turn me into a literal little psychopath. But by 15 years old, I was on the beach here in Salt Creek Beach in Orange County, right below the Ritz-Carlton. Yeah. I mean, pistol whipping grown men. Like, we would get in fights every day. We were a gang. We were a gang of kids who had our name, and we would just drive around and we would fuck people up. And it was like
start trouble.
Me at 100 pounds, 105 pounds. I was a wrestling star, and it was kind of sad because I was beating up actual grown men who were like trying to protect their girlfriends from getting water ballooned or something. But I was a crazy kid. So I finally found an outlet for this where I wasn't going to get in trouble or hurt some poor person, some idiot. Just I wanted something more. I wanted to make money off it. So I got there, and then I became the UFC called and said, "Hey, if you keep winning like this, we want to build." I mean, before Connor was even around, they pitched it to me as that. And I was like, "Oh shit. Okay. Wow. This is a lot riding on this." They wanted to make me a star. And I got there, and the first fight I technically beat, but I didn't beat. I got a bad call. I beat the best guy in the world. And then of course from there, okay, whether I got screwed or not, I let that moment in time, that exact thing, knock me off. And I started using again. Granted, I was having a failing marriage where my ex-wife was on drugs already after the baby. And granted, she was sober with the baby, but, she went on. That was a whole different story. It was fucking crazy. But I ended up raising my kid by myself for the first 5 years of her life. And, it's all, she's back, new family, baby, love her, everything's great. We're friends like we should be. But this was a crazy time. And I let that, me being screwed, I let my life spiral out of control.
Yep.
And where I was the catalyst for him truly becoming the best guy in the world. And I look back and I think, well, would I be able to have won, rightfully, finger quotes, won that fight and moved on. And then would I have been able to pull off what he did, like 12 consecutive title defenses in a row? I mean, if you give me all that money and fame, like, I doubt it.
Well, let's actually talk about that, because that's very, very true. You see that quite often with people who have reached high levels, high performers of success, whether it's in athletics, entertainment, business, whatever. Something happens inside them where either the success gets to them and they self-sabotage, which is what it sounds like you did, right?
Yeah,
which is
always
quite common. The fear of success, people who aren't successful laugh at that and go, oh, whatever, man, that would never happen to me. I want to make the money. And I go, hold on, you don't know until you've been there. It's a very different experience when you're there. So the fear of success and self-sabotage is a very, very real thing. The other very real thing is you have a couple of relatively easy wins and you reach success a little easier than you probably should have, right? You specifically see this with musicians. This is where it's most obvious, right? They write that one hit song, boom, they blow up and they're super popular.
Done.
And they're done. Like, that's it. Like, they can never recapture it and they completely flounder. Childhood actors are another great example of this, where they flounder and can't seem to kind of come back around because they get in their head about, oh, I'm so good and I'm so talented. I have this level of talent. We define talent as this thing that we are born with. And you might have an affinity for martial arts. You might be very passionate about it. You might be more athletic than your average bear. But here's the reality. Like, if you don't put in the work and show up at the gym and grind it out, the guy who sucks but does stay sober and does outwork you eventually will beat you. And that is true in every single arena. Whether you have more talent or not, it only carries you so far. The problem with relying on talent mentally is that we believe that talent is fixed, right? I have it. It's a thing. Bullshit, it's not a thing. You might have advantages, right? You had an affinity for it. You're better at it than most people. But if you had thought, oh, I'm talented, this is where I'm at, any challenge to that talent, meaning someone who came along and was just as good as you are at a high level, right? UFC is the highest level. It starts to affect your belief of this talent. But if you take that talent and do kind of what Michael Jordan did and Kobe did and so many of the other great athletes, which is, yeah, I'm talented. Now I'm going to work and I'm going to build. It's that humbleness of working combined with the talent that ultimately leads to people to be wildly successful in whatever endeavor it is, not just athletics, business, etc. So really important that people understand that piece.
It's the talent versus skill, you know, and sure, I exploited my genetic lottery. You know, I had enough understanding of, you know, the way the body works from a young age of, oh, I can do things other people can't. Well, there's a lot of people out there like you. There, I mean, when you see the numbers and then you get to the UFC and you're like, oh, I mean, sure, there's levels to it, yes, but I mean, you know, you don't get to the UFC for nothing. These dudes are all, and dudes and girls, they're all amazing, and especially the women. I used to poo-poo the women back when Ronda was champion because they weren't good enough. My training partner and like little sister that I never wanted, Carla Esparza, she was the first UFC world champion at strawweight, and people thought I was just being a fucking dick, which I was, but I just didn't really like Ronda. She bothered me, and she sucked. I'm sorry, she wasn't very good for what people said. They said she's the best, this and that. I was like, I can't do this. You know, I'm a realist. But the women have caught up to the men technically.
They've closed that gap so fast.
And you know, sure, you don't have as many women who punch. I don't punch that hard either, so what am I to say? But you know, they don't punch as hard. That's just physics. That's just how it works. But man, the girls that do hit hard, like Amanda and Shevchenko, and these girls that hit like, oh my God, it's crazy. But you know, this is what I put into my coaching is a big thing, because people don't get it, that trauma, we all have trauma again. Well, I don't know anyone that doesn't have it for childhood trauma. We're all broken children. It's sex, you know, or, you know, sex, violence, and abandonment. Those are the only things, and they all come usually in pairs or all three together. It's really not fun and not cool. But, when you get to the UFC, you're a world-class athlete. Okay. And I'm not working with a bunch of random young people just lower stuff. I'm working with elite stars because I want to take these guys from great to elite because I know I can do that. But I tell them, okay, we go into the cage and we do all the mental work, the game planning. You see these people they get so much anxiety and they think, oh, I'm getting octagon jitters because I'm a pussy. You're like, no, you're not. You climb into a cage every day and you beat the crap out of your friends. And it's what you do every day. This is nothing different. You can't see much or hear much. You hear your coaches and lights and there's not much going on. You're focused. And what's happening is since trauma is stored in the tissue, it's manifesting into anxiety or octagon jitters or you being a pussy or whatever they want to say themselves. It goes back to the NLP, the neuro-linguistic programming and, the stories we tell ourselves, and there's a lot to it. And obviously with a big dose or a macro dose is where you start when you're one of my clients. Usually that's what I recommend. So you start with a large dose of psilocybin that's guided, setting intention, music, all this sort of stuff. I'm the performance guy. My girlfriend is the shamanistic science. It's crazy because it's shamanism into the science. Her being a scientist for 25 years and super genius sort of person. And then also her being raised because she grew up in former Yugoslavia or modern day Serbia. Her great grandmother was a shaman out in the forest. You ever heard of how Santa Claus is a mushroom?
Yes,
the
I have heard that.
Yep. Amanita muscaria mushroom, and it's old Norse mythology stuff. And imagine having to be this good communist in the city, and then you can run off to the forest and see your grandmother who's a shaman, and the smudging and the everything got healing and all this crazy stuff. So we have two separate businesses. We have our together stuff, but we work because I'm not the best at the psychology side of it. This actual trauma and addiction side of it. Sure, I've gotten through it myself, but I lean on other individuals.
You have the empathy for it.
Yeah, if I'm consulting for someone in mycology or cannabis or business in general, whatever we're doing, I'm not the best guy to talk to about money, so I bring in my money guy or science guy, or this guy. So I have a good team that I've always built because I know I don't know everything, but what I do know, I'm good at. So, we work together on healing the trauma and addiction and that sort of stuff. So then I can just genuinely make you a better person, make you happier, healthier, and be more focused, and then you can get into the performance.
I was just going to say, so, I've heard of, and what attracted me to this is I've heard this from in my world, right? So I'm on the business side, venture capital, startups, that, et cetera. So a lot of people don't know this sort of dirty secret in Silicon Valley. A lot of those high performing guys microdose. That has become quietly very common, surprisingly very common.
It's common knowledge.
Right. And so they have done it because they believe that, and studies have actually shown this, that it increases performance. So let's take a moment and talk about what the heck does performance mean, right? Okay. What are we, let's quantify it, right? It's one thing to be like, oh, it's better performance. Better performance relative to what? What's performance, right? Are we talking better sleep? Are we talking a faster synapse response? New neural net pathways so that our left and right side brain are communicating at a faster rate? Do we have better memory? Like, how do we quantify better performance? What is that? Let's start there.
This is my obsession. Outside of just general education of all this, because it's just my obsession. Performance-wise, it starts off with the flow state. Everyone thinks, oh, flow state. Sure, we'll get there. Now, it depends how big of a microdose you're looking to do, because some people, they at 0.1 they're good because they don't want to feel anything. A microdose is usually about 0.1 to 0.3. Okay. But athletes like to perform on that, walking on that fence, they go this way, they're too much, but this way they're good, so
Right.
because when you when you have psilocybin in your brain, you have a large uptick or an advancement in sight, okay, in sound, in smell, in taste, everything. You can actually see better. And I notice this when I go shoot at the range, specifically when I'm shooting my bow.
Mm-hmm.
I can see where the arrows are when I microdose. When I don't, I can barely see them. So and like I've had friends who are pretty blind. They say, man, I can see so much better. I can hear better. The day is just way better. That's just the start. Okay, it's just having all these things become more clear. Your brain wakes up. I just posted something on Facebook about it. It's a known picture of your brain on sober, and then your brain on psilocybin. And when you see that, you go, wait a second, why are we not doing this? Your
Right.
whole brain is turned on and alive. Now, when you have a good microdosing protocol, and you have, for me, it would be a blend, like cordyceps mushrooms, lion mane mushrooms, black pepper, CBD, curcumin, like a good anti-inflammatory and good nootropic value. I don't need to stimulate my body. I can do that with coffee or whatever. I'm trying to stimulate my mind. And you have a process called epigenetic neurogenesis. That's the healing of the brain. Those receptor sites, the addiction sites, like all these things that get damaged from drug abuse and subconcussive blows, concussive blows, all these things that are bad for our head, our brain, are all becoming healed. And again, like you were saying, the neural pathways, old ones, new ones are being created. The memory of old information, the absorption of new information. Okay, you have kinetic efficiency. We'll keep with the brain for now. You have the actual efficiency of your thoughts, your words, not only what you're saying to people, as your linguistic capabilities are better, but also the way you think about things while you're saying them instead of just bah. And you can really understand like what you're going to say to someone, and you think about how it's going to affect them before you kind of say it. Well, from there you can also receive information better, and this is the dropping of something called the fear response. And my nose is running. You have the fear response is going to lend itself to a lot of stuff. And again, that energy back and forth with someone, just trying new things mentally, thinking new things, new processes, compartmentalizing things in a much better way without fear. Fear, man, right now, not everybody, but a lot of people are in fear because they think, oh, Corona's going to get me, or this is going to get me, or my rent.
Right.
We have to get out of that fear state, because when the saber-toothed tiger or the bear or whatever is trying to kill you, it's trying to eat you. Your body doesn't give a flying fuck about anything but survival.
Correct. Yep.
So if we can change it from a fear response because we're just chemistry and vibrations, we change the fear response so we have cortisol and all other bad chemicals, to a happy, loving, positive response and outlook on, okay, well, I'm going to get through this. It's just, this is what it is. I got to make smile and whatever, be happy. There's no point. There's no point in letting something affect you emotionally when it doesn't need to. The emotions just get in the way of a logical thinking, so more into the performance, that fear response and the kinetic efficiency. So you're able to, we'll say for a fighter or whatever, however this locks in any other performance, you are in a flow state, everything slows down. You see, the aggressions, especially if you study what you're doing, the microaggressions, the foot placement, the head placement, the way the shoulders move, how this punch is thrown compared to this punch. You see all this much more easily. So then you have the fear response to engage and to go for things you've never gone for before, or things you want to try. But then the kinetic efficiency, where it's not going to be like injecting yourself with testosterone and just getting that sort of strong. Your body moves like silk. Your body stacks better and twists better and moves and becomes longer and not so much flexibility like with cannabis. cannabis will physically make you more flexible. I think a big part of that has to do with the nervous system and the actual pain threshold you can have on cannabis is much higher. But you have mobility, so strength.
That's right.
Strength under range of motion. So
Mm-hmm.
you're strong and flexible. So you're able to get deeper into your mobility, but you still have this laxed feeling in there where you're flexible but still strong.
Mm-hmm.
So the body moves a lot better. Then the breath. You're not afraid to get tired, so your breath is just nice and smooth. And especially if you practice breath work. I teach breath work. I'm supposed to do my master's class with my coach Casper Vandermeulen soon, but we're supposed to do it earlier this year. Not gonna happen. So we're gonna do something online. But Casper's he used to be Wim Hof's resident scientist guy.
Yep.
He's incredible. Was a scientist forever. I obviously have an affinity for smart people in my life.
Let's go back for a quick second, because I don't want to miss it, because it's very valuable. You brought up neural pathways, and for some people, for you that's obvious, but not for everybody on the call, and why this is so important. So neural pathways in the brain are, think about them as the path of least resistance for electricity to move through your brain, because of course that's what happens. That's how you have a thought, right? Electricity literally moves through your brain. That's actually fires the synapse response. That's the electrical signal between two cells. The faster that fires, the quicker you have thoughts. Now, your brain, like anybody else, wants to take the path of least resistance, the easiest way there. So that's why as you get older in particular, you will see this, you'll hear people say the same catchphrases, say the same stories. They fall into routines in their thinking. You find this with people who are strongly on the left or strongly on the right in terms of their political thinking, because they have a sort of predefined route in their brain in which electricity fires. Now, that isn't great, because your left and your right side brain do two very different things. Generically, one is sort of math or binary driven, and the other one is more creative driven. And so there are a lot of advantages to creating new neural pathways. What that means is your ability to fire both left brain and right brain simultaneously. So think about when you're fighting or when you are building a business. Some of it is science, some of it is creativity, right? There's a moment, there's spontaneity. You need both. I don't care if it's on the boardroom or in the octagon, you got to have both. And your ability to do that at a high level is what is going to be indicative of your success. So there's an old saying, right? You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, what that's really sort of reinforcing is that these neural pathways are in our brain, and they fire the same way over and over and over and over again. What psilocybin in particular, and there are exercises for those of you who don't want to do microdosing, that you can do. It takes longer, it's harder, such as learning a new language is a great way to attach new neural pathways, left and right side brain. The advantage of doing that is everything that Ian is saying right now, right? Your body becomes more reactive, more fluid, more smooth. You act on instinct more than worrying and thinking about fear and anxiety and these other things popping up. These are things really, really important in terms of your ability to be successful in the ring or in the boardroom or where have you. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't gloss over that point, because it's actually really, really critical to everything that we're talking about. So creating those new neural pathways is significant.
Yeah, and so shit.
Ian, do we lose you?
Hello, can you hear me? Why is it stuck?
Oh, there we go. You're back.
There we go. Okay. I was like, what the hell? All right. So the new neural pathways. There's a few companies out there. So besides the, like you said, learning a new language, breath work, meditation, these things that can really, deep meditation for days on end. I have friends that have done like 30-day sits, and the things they can deal with there is huge. I'm big on the supplementation. If you have companies that really understand the science of it. There's a company called Life Cycle Mushrooms. It's Cycle, Cykel. I think it's a Danish way to say it. They're out of Australia, Byron Bay. They have gotten, and I take their products myself. They're the best ones. I mean, over Stamets, over all this stuff, these are by far the best products in mycology I've seen. And man, they're getting the exact, not exact, maybe just around the same sort of results without any psilocybin. It's just their blend of mushrooms, the way they extraction. It's water and alcohol extraction, 2-way. Full spectrum. They put it in with there's a bunch of native fruits and stuff from Australia they use that you can't get anywhere else, and it's really, 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 really good stuff. And during a time where we're fighting off of a virus, I mean, besides the competitive advantage that you get, that, like you said, the Silicon Valley has shown the competitive advantage in that. Okay. Right. I'm showing the competitive advantage in sports. I've sat with my girlfriend with the UFC on multiple occasions doing this study with Unlimited Sciences. That was my brainchild. It's my idea. My girlfriend needed a study, and I was talking to the UFC, and the guy from Unlimited Science is like, wait a second, guys, can we do all this? And of course, everyone was like, no, this is not everyone, but the UFC or Jeff Nowitzki's like, this is illegal. And if people don't know who Jeff Nowitzki is, he's the golden snitch. He is the guy that busted Lance Armstrong for doping. He now works. He loves that nickname, my friend. So anyone can call him that.
The golden snitch.
He's the liaison between USADA, or United States Anti-Doping, and the UFC and their fighters. He works for the UFC, not USADA, and he's a mentor of mine. I had the UFC's first CBD deal, and I contacted Jeff and I said, let's do this study, man. And he goes, no, it's illegal. I said, oh, no, it's not. My girlfriend's a scientist. I work with Unlimited Sciences. He goes, all right, well, get me FDA approval and major university. I was like, I already got it. The call before this. I'm like, I know you. I went through the process of becoming the world's first, or my company that I own part of, my family owns part of, my friends. It's called Elixicure, Honest Glow. We have the world's first product and lab that's certified by the FDA and the Banned Substance Control Group, which is what you need to be tested by the UFC or by Olympics or whatever. So I know what I've done a lot of this stuff, and it's a lot of work, but just to set it up is key. You have to have these boxes to tick off if you want to work in sports. If you want to be able to pull off the pollination effect, which is what I'm doing, what I like to call it is, you get, these athletes and these people with blue check marks like myself to talk about it, because people don't want to listen to doctors and scientists like my girlfriend. People listen to me and I go, you need to listen to her. Okay. She's the one that teaches me all this shit. And she's really pretty. So you can look at her. It's great. Just shut the fuck up and listen. And you have guys like Paul Stamets or Terrence McKenna, Dennis McKenna. There's a lot of people out there, that have been so incredible to this side of it. And maybe stay away from Timothy Leary. He's a little crazy. But it's just a different time. You have so many influential people now that are in this space that are trying to heal people. We'll get back.
Tim Ferriss has been talking about this space for a while. So, if you're not familiar with Tim Ferriss, some of the listeners out there, right? He's high performance on the business side, right? It's kind of startup king, author, I think 5-time New York Times bestseller. He has been pushing and funding with his own money, investing in this specific space, right? So there is a lot of momentum behind this movement, and which is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, like spread this message.
So, business, there's always the business cycle. You have tech, and you have porn, and you have this, and you have cannabis, and you have CBD, because hemp and weed, two different markets, way different, even though they're basically the same thing. So you have those, and then you're going to have psychedelics are going to have its own little circle, its own little cycle. Okay. Psychedelics will have its own. Psilocybin and mycology will have a much larger, multi-trillion-dollar business. And I say this because just this alone. So there's something called mycoremediation. Okay, scientists have taught or bred fungus mushrooms to eat plastic and cigarette butts. You can find this on the internet. This is old information. So think of the impact that can have on all dumps. Okay, not only that, but it's sequestering carbon out of the air, chemicals out of the air. You can clean up oil spills, toxic radiated material, nuclear radioactive material out of the ground. I mean, sure, sometimes we don't know how to, and we have to incinerate these. Well, this is a new thing we're trying to do, but think of the business implications of being able to get rid of plastic and cigarette butts and suck out all these chemicals out of the air and out of the ground. And in my eyes, but again, I also believe in the stoned ape theory. It is that fungus is going to save the planet. If you guys haven't seen Fantastic Fungi, the movie, Paul Stamets is like the face of it. Louis Schwartzberg, who won a bunch of awards with Disney. It's one of the most visually appealing things I've ever seen, and it teaches you all the things that you need to know. Just a basic understanding. The fact that mushrooms are more closely related to humans than they are plants. There's just all these amazing connections you find with them. Whether it's not just about psychedelics, which is great because you have things like end of life distress or whatever, even the sports, whatever it is, but they're so good for you. Mushrooms are so good for you. I feel like in the next decade or two, we're going to look back and be like, laugh and go, why weren't we eating more mushrooms? Because, you have such big immunal properties in mushrooms, in mycology. You have antiviral properties. Somebody tried to yell at me the other day for posting this on Facebook. How dare you, blah, 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 talk about antiviral. I was like, it's called science, dickhead. Go read a book and sit down. Like what? So you have things called polysaccharides and beta glucans. They strengthen your immunity cells and those little arms that come off and help the corona not attach. Because the corona cell itself is just an information cell. It's not alive. It's just trying to attach and inject its bad information and then, have cell replication and all that sort of stuff. But so you have antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial properties in mushrooms. And I tell, because I'm always posting about the mycology diet, the myco diet. People ask, well, I take a supplement. That's good. No, the supplement's great. I don't care if it's powder, liquid, who makes it. You should probably not try and buy anything from China because it's got a lot of chemicals. Because again, mushrooms sequester chemicals out of the air. So I'm not trying to shit on China, but kind of, their products suck. This is how it works. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. But get these products in you, and then also go to the store and eat mushrooms. A huge variety is the spice of life. The more variety we have in our stomachs, the better, because you have your gut biome. Okay, everyone knows about the gut biome, the bacterial body inside of us. And we think, okay, we take probiotic or antibiotics and we vaporize everything indiscriminately. And then we go, well, we're going to build it back up with probiotics, digestive enzymes, whatever, and prebiotics, healthy food, fermented stuff, just, good thoughts, all of it. It all matters. But people do not ever think or know. I mean, I know educated people that don't know that we have a mycobiome, a mycological biome in our body as well. And no one ever takes time to replenish that. I mean, I eat mushrooms pretty much, I'd say 2 out of 3 meals a day. And it's mixing it. It's not a bunch of them. I mean, sure. Well, I guess we do a bunch of them, but I'm saying it's not like, it's always a side usually. It's mixed in with something. It's just having that in your body is so good for you. And it just builds our immunities. That's all it is. We're trying to, now that we've seen this crazy pandemic happen and we see how unhealthy we are, not only mind, but body, we have to fix this stuff and build this and take care of ourselves and locally source things and, just try and not, be gross. Be good in a lot of ways, like be good to yourself. Like, why do you like carrying around an extra 50 pounds? Like, really? Like, you have diabetes? I'm a glandular problem. Like, no, you don't. Like, you might have something now because you screwed yourself up. But it's just, I don't know.
So we were talking off the air. And you mentioned that you just launched sort of the public facing piece of this. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh yeah. So I've had clients for a bit now, but as we just dropped my website. It's called themccallmethod.com, or my website. My email is ian@themccallmethod.com. If you want to reach out, I do of course, mixed martial arts training. And, you know, but through that sort of stuff, I go over, you know, if I'm working with you as a fighter, you know, or as a client, and we're actually working physically together, we're doing the, you know, the micro diet and the micro dosing, and I'm going over all that stuff for you. The first thing, again, I always have to say is I'm not a drug dealer, or I'm not anymore. I was growing up. But, you know, I can't help you acquire these substances. You got to get on your own. But, you know, with my clients that I work with on a physical level, you know, it's you know, we can do weights or body weight or whatever, but I like martial arts and movement, just performance. Then I have the actual psychedelic integration, where I help people integrate those things, and we can kind of, you know, figure out, you know, just help you deal with what you went through, you know, and help it use this daily practice, mindfulness, just to be a better everything. You know, I also teach, you know, integration parenting, because psychedelics will make you a better parent. They do. And I'm not talking about eating mushrooms and hanging out with your kids. I'm talking about they just are going to make you think about this sort of stuff and deal with it. And I take pride in how good of a dad I am. I raised a little girl on my own for 5 years, and she's really cool. I mean, she's really smart. She knows more about plant medicine than a good deal of grown-ups. You know, even in the space, she's my little buddy. And, you know, I also healed her from rheumatoid arthritis with diet, exercise, and cannabis oil. You know, so it's like, this has been my path for a long time.
Is it more of a calling to you than fighting was? Was fighting for you, you know, a combination of injured emotionally, as well as being physically gifted? So it was a great outlet for you, but ultimately, as you've gotten older and more mature and probably a little deeper in sort of how you view the world, is this ultimately your calling?
Oh, yeah.
Was fighting just the way to find this?
Yes, I was a tortured soul. You know, I did a lot of crazy things growing up, like seriously crazy stuff, where, you know, I don't let it loom over me, and, you know, I've forgiven myself for the, you know, things I've done. But yeah, I was just tortured, and I can't blame it on the sport. You know, I can't blame it on anyone but myself. It was craziness. And I had the need to do it, and I had the obsession to do it, and I had the talent to do it. So I did it. You know, it's something I really wanted. And I just, sure, I lost my view as a martial artist for a while. You know, I lost the martial arts side of it, which is something I try and teach now, because, you know, you're a martial artist. This is what I teach kids class. Well, I don't teach right now, but I was teaching, you know, like 8 months ago. You're a martial artist. You're held to a higher standard than other people.
100%.
You know, that's just what it is. I'm teaching you things to get through life easier and better, and just, you know, and also you can protect people.
Yep.
You know, so it's just being a martial artist, carrying yourself like that. You know, I was brought up, you know, always, my family we owned a Toyota dealership in downtown LA, a bunch of property down there. And you know, this tie to Japan with my dad, I don't know, through that was a big part of it. But I grew up reading like the Book of Five Rings.
Love it.
You know,
recommended on yesterday's podcast, actually. So it's funny that you say that.
You know, so it's I have, you know, Miyamoto Musashi's, you know, bird on a reed tattoo on my arm. I'm a fan of Japan and that's just whole Shinto philosophy and samurai culture. You know, it's just really I just want to help people become a better version of themselves, because I look at people like me, who I was one of the worst, man. I was crazy. Or I look at someone like Rashad Evans. You know, Rashad works with myself and Del Jolly at Unlimited Sciences. You know, we have this study together. Sure, it was my idea, but we're all coming together to figure this out. I just saw Rashad in Denver. We had a meeting and a ceremony and stuff out there. He's an energy worker now. And to see Rashad just, you know, sitting in the sun out in the field, just absorbing the sun's energy, and then he'll come up to you and he'll like scan your body, and you just feel this crazy ray of energy wherever he's got you. And he'll pull out a crystal, and he'll put a crystal up to you, and he'll get more of the sun's energy. And I'm just like, this makes me Evans. It makes me so happy, because I'm not the only person that looks crazy right now. You know, like it's this massive change in us, and I'm, you know, we're not the only ones. We're just the ones that have the soapbox, that have taken this responsibility upon ourselves. Heather Jo Clark as well. She hasn't gotten too weird at all, but she's not as deep as we are. But, you know, she's with us. Like she's killing it.
One of the things you said about martial artists, though, really struck out to me, because it's something I've been saying for a while, and I very strongly believe this. When you are truly a martial artist, it is a responsibility that you have as you walk around in the world. And what I mean by that is, if you are a doctor, you have taken an oath. And if you are on a plane or a bus or where have you, and someone has a medical emergency and says, oh my gosh, is there a doctor in the house? It doesn't matter if you're tired. It doesn't matter if you just had a fight with the wife. You have a responsibility to get your ass up and go take care of that situation. There is no difference, in my opinion, for the very few people that are called truly to martial arts. I don't mean people who just dabble in it, but true martial artists. That is the same responsibility, same type of responsibility that you have. If there is a moment in need and you need to provide protection for you or a stranger, that's your responsibility. It absolutely has to happen. And I've sort of shouted that from the rooftops for a long time. But it is extremely true that the world, for the true martial artists that are out there, the world should be a better place where you are standing, because you provide safety and sort of a stoicism to that place because of who you are and the sacrifices you have made to be at that level. And that is so important. And that history and tradition goes back not just in Japan, but it goes back through the warrior cultures of India, China, the Romans through Sparta. I mean, this thought process has been around for such a long time when we talk about the warrior traditions and the protections that we have to put in place and protect the people around us. It's just really, really critical. I didn't want to gloss over it because it's something I'm super passionate about. So
yeah, and you know, it's just to have the wherewithal to know you can protect yourselves and your loved ones, and it makes you a stronger, better person. I've seen, you know, young kids that I had one friend, and I you know, I don't like to say this, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. I thought his kid was autistic, you know, and again, it's nothing. I've coached kids who have autism my whole life since I was 19, 18, whatever it was. My girlfriend's son's autistic. But I, you know, I was like, oh, he just seems like he's on the spectrum. He got into jujitsu, and maybe he is. Who knows? It completely changed this kid from, you know, just being. And now he's you know, he's helping coach, and he's doing all this stuff, and it's just incredible. You know, like I love it. You know, and it's martial arts are so important to me because they're that's what's kept me alive my whole life. You know, I died once. You know, I've had
not to do it again.
Yeah, you know, I've had my head kicked in by, you know, groups of people, or had people pull guns, or, you know, just crazy try and pull out knives. You know, like I had kids pull a knife at me when I was like 12 for the first time. Maybe, yeah, about 12. Like, you know, it's like I've always just found myself in these crazy situations, and martial arts has helped me through so much of it. You know, it really is, you know, the most important thing that I've you know, ever put into my life like that. You know, you know, besides, I guess, this education, but you know, that this is for me. This martial arts is for me. This
it's very personal.
Mycology itself is and psychedelics. That's my work for the world, my gift. I mean, I guess if you can call it what I owe the world. You know, the beautiful thing that I'm trying to put out there and just show, like, look at, we can heal a lot of people, and not just fighters. You know, all these veterans. How many veterans are killing themselves? Football players are killing themselves. Just people who hurt themselves in any way, shape, or form. Motocross. I don't care who you are. If you have brain damage, CTE, TBI, it changes you. It creates plaque on your brain, amyloid plaque, and then again, those pathways aren't firing off. Your thoughts, you're impulsive. You can't understand things or remember things. It drives you crazy. I was there. I was on suicide watch, lying on my floor in fetal position, butt naked, crying my eyes out. I've tried the transcranial magnetic stimulation and all this different stuff that UFC helped me. They sent me this place for like $500 a day, to get my brain fixed. And what happened? I mean, granted, this is kind of funny. They said, you're going to have a little episode about 2 weeks in. Oh man, episode,
little
wow.
episode, huh?
Yeah, I
like
really, that's when the thought, I want to kill myself, popped in my head, and I was like, oh no. I used to walk into my kitchen, brand new house I just bought, and I would open up all the drawers, all the cabinets, my fridge, and walk out. And my ex would be like, hey, what the fuck?
What's going on?
I was just mean to everybody, and it was crazy. And for to go through it myself, and then to now be out of it, and I look back and I see all these other individuals I grew up with, or I grew up admiring, the guys I looked up to, are now doing the same thing. They're abusing their families, the people they love, the friends, in every way, shape, and form, financially, emotionally, I'm physically, and I'm sure all the worst stuff is happening. Yep. The things that as a martial artist you do not do. You don't beat up random people you love, hit kids, molest people. Like, you do not do. Again, back to what you were saying. This is how we have to protect people.
That's right.
And for me to know that's happening, I know I have a way to fix it. I can't let it happen. Yep. And again, it's not just about martial artists. It's about anyone. So I'm just trying to get it out there through the pollination effect, like I was saying, and just get the word out. Like, guys, we can't live this way. I teach the couples counseling through psychedelic integration, because see the difference between my partner and myself. She's a 5'11" professor at UCLA. I'm a tiny little kind of brown guy who's used to beat people up in the street, like in a cage. So people are like, well, how has this happened? And the integration work is huge. I teach parenting through integration, and also the masculinity, the masks of masculinity, like the new book that Lewis Howe came out with. He gave me that book, and I really need to read it. I was gonna lie to you and tell you I read it, but I didn't. I've glossed over it. These things that I've just changed so much and evolved so much. I'm just trying to help people have the tools, to be able to get into those things.
I love this journey you're on, and I think this is a good place to end the show, because you have taken, and this is a bit of an advertisement for martial arts, but bear with me. You have taken tragedy in your life. You have used that tragedy to funneled, focused, motivated towards martial arts, ultimately led you to be a massive success within the UFC. But more importantly than that, instead of saying, oh, well, I guess I'm done, I continue and start a business and try to heal the world because of your experiences. You've seen the damages that are out there that you can positively contribute to, and you have experimented, pushed science, pushed athletes into this direction. It's very noble, man. It's really incredible what you're doing, and you're young. You're not even 40. You got a lot of runway ahead of you, bro. So, I mean, this is just amazing, and I'm just so excited that we're on this journey with you.
Thank you, man. The biohacking stuff is psychedelics are huge for biohacking, and it's helped me fix my brain, through just the science, just knowing the science and the diet and the exercise and all that, the mindfulness, the breath work, meditation. I mean, it's all important, and to have a good, strong group of people around you that are in that same light, or they are that light, they are that energy. I mean, I have friends of mine that just me being a smart ass and a stand-up comic, I have to laugh at my friends sometimes, because some of them are just like, well, man, it's just then we're the light and the energy. But the thing is when I can make fun of them all I want, but when I'm there with them, I'm so fucking happy. I'm so excited to just be and just feel good. There's no one that has a sad face. Yeah. No one's sad. Yeah. or getting in a relationship with someone. Okay. And then realizing you lived a life before me. You were an adult. You had sex with someone before. You had a child. How dare you? I'm going to make you pay for this for the rest of your life. No. Or disliking someone's kids. How are we getting into this mindset where you are with this person and not loving everything about them, their
About you.
story, what they've been through, because you love this person, you're falling in love with them. Not only are you creating amazing things like growth hormone in your body at large amounts and good love chemicals, but you're evolving. Your brain is growing, and you're getting this happiness, and you're able to progress. And if you can always have the positive mindset and take care of each other and be mindful and all this stuff, I mean, this is, it's a recipe for success. Yeah, for sure.
100%. So where can people follow you? Where can we direct our audience? Where do you want them to go?
So my personal social media is Uncle Creepy MMA on everything. But the new website is themccallmethod.com. And yeah, I have social media for themccallmethod.com. So go check it out. You can look at Unlimited Sciences. They have tons of amazing information. Decrim CA, which is Decriminalize California. We are the two of the people that work for the organization. She's the lead educator. I am one of the event coordinators. And, we're working on a political level with this. We're trying to make sure this is responsibly done. So check out decrimca.org, and also Thank You Plant Medicine. And yeah, that should be enough information for you guys.
And we'll actually link to all that in the show notes, so you don't have to remember everything, so that you can find everything that he is up to. So one more time, thank you so much for being here. This has been enlightening. It's been a ton of fun. Thank you. Thank you for everybody tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Until next time, thank you so much. Bye, everybody.